So hello everyone, welcome to Analysys Mason's podcast. My name is Grace Langham. I'm the lead analyst for Analysys Mason's Sustainable Networks program. Joining me on today's podcast is Manuel Alomar. Manuel leads Liberty Global's new circularity business called Rethink. Rethink refurbishes electronic waste with the aim of reselling for use by other telecoms and tech companies globally. So for this podcast episode, I'll be discussing with Manuel how a model like Rethink can help remove some of the hassle for operators in the disposal of unused and obsolete tech. This discussion is actually very timely. It leads well on from our previous episode, which looked at the barriers and best practice to discarding fixed broadband equipment. Analysys Mason has now published a number of reports on the topics of telecoms circularity, which is supported by unique insights from our sustainability survey. So Manuel is well placed to talk to us about this today. And yeah, I'll just give you a bit of time to introduce yourself to the listeners.
Thank you. And great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Indeed, my name is Manuel Alomar. You can detect from my accent I'm from Latin America, specifically from Chile, and now working with Liberty Blume for almost 15 years. And I'm quite excited about Rethink, what we're doing. So looking forward to explain more to yourself and the audience as well.
Yeah, thank you, Manuel. So I guess let's just dive into it a bit more. So obviously, we discussed last time on the podcast, e-waste is becoming one of the fastest growing waste streams globally. Do you want to share about how Liberty Global is addressing this challenge through the Rethink circularity business?
Sure. We started with an idea, which was called Rethink. And the idea was based on the fact that we see so much competition. And the competition, of course, triggers innovation. And that gets translated into upgrades on the technology network side of things. Because this was happening so often, we realized that we were getting back from the field lots of components that actually we could reuse. So we started with the principle of the technology can still be used somewhere else. So technology accumulating dust could be repurposed, refurbished, and then benefiting other telcos elsewhere. So obviously we started with Liberty Global because of our telco nature or core. And then we realized that actually this could be offered to other telcos out there to benefit from it. And we realized it closed a full circle. So we buy technology from companies, we repurpose that, we refurbish it, and then we enable that technology to work in someone else's network.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like that idea of what is one company's leftovers becomes another's opportunity, which is really like that closing the loop. And I really like that phrase as well. Part of our operator sustainability survey, interestingly, it revealed that the majority of operators' CPE and network equipment either ended up being recycled or sent to landfill. And on average, as little as 10% was currently being refurbished. Does your Rethink model help to overcome the current challenges that operators may face in, refurbishing equipment?
Indeed, we are convinced that repurposing is way better than recycling. And by that, we mean that we used to recycle as well. What happens is that a portion of the components, they actually get recycled, but a big chunk of it, they still sadly end in landfills. So with that principle, we believe that, of course, repurposing is not only benefiting the planet a bit more and generating less e-waste, but actually it's opening new avenues to generate revenue, for example. So it's a round circle. We believe that beyond scrap, we can monetize technology, which is great news for the moments telco is living. Everyone is looking for CapEx, and we are removing complexity as well. So we manage the end-to-end cycle from getting the assets, refurbishing, repurposing it, and then when we sell, we also offer support. So then companies, they can be certain that what we are selling works. So we're not gambling, which is, I think, something which makes a difference with other offers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, stops that apprehension around refurbishing if you're actually really hands-on and involved as a partnership with the operator. So yeah, absolutely. I guess as well, another barrier to scaling refurbishment in telecoms is dealing with vendor proprietary design of equipment. How is the Rethink model also navigating this challenge?
It's a good question. We're fully conscious of course, IP needs to be respected. So we take that very seriously. Hence, we reach out to the OEMs out there and we first ask for permission for them to allow us to sell their technology. And in many cases, we had to work together to develop a software that would work in other networks. So we created partnership. We created, of course, middlewares to enable the right firmware. And the truth is that we only focus on technology that we have permission to sell. So we get accreditations, and then we make sure that we only sell what we are authorized to sell.
And so what type of equipment are you refurbishing? Is it mainly telecoms equipment currently?
Yes, the short answer is yes, because of the nature of Liberty Global. Of course, we have a core focus on telecom. However, we realize that actually this is expanding as well. We see a massive opportunity with mobiles, laptops, even EV charging stations for electric vehicles. We believe that we are facing an inflection point in terms of how to reuse technology. And we want that to play in our favor. I think people are valuing more and more the fact that actually you can opt for technology that looks like new, performs as new, but it just happens that it was used before.
Yeah, absolutely. And also those industries you're talking about are also facing e-waste struggles as well. So it's not just the telecoms industry. So that's a really exciting opportunity for you guys as well. And shifting to the buyer side, we know from conversations with operators that there is some apprehension around buying refurbished equipment, as I mentioned before, both from businesses and both the end customer. There is obviously concerns around things like security. Has this been a barrier to you finding the buyers for this refurbished equipment?
Yeah, the truth is, yes, it is accepted. We see it comes a bit with education. We do need to explain to people that actually buying refurbished technology is the same than buying like new, but at a lower cost. That's something that takes some time. We don't ask people to just believe on us. What we usually do is we send technology for our customers to test so then they can be certain that the technology is of high quality and of course it will work for the intention of that technology. But we also have the concept of what's happening, which I mentioned before in terms of competition enabling a faster development of technologies and replacements of technologies. So companies like Liberty Global and of course all of our competitors, we usually buy technology that is meant to last from companies and brands with big reputations. And these companies, they buy technology or they build technology to last for, let's say, 12 to 15 years. But in reality, we see that the rotation of the technology happens faster. Customers are accessing better technologies in a faster way. And that means that instead of using the technology for 12 to 15 years, many companies are using them for 2 to 3 years and then upgrading. So we still have left some good amount of years of that technology that could fulfill a role in a different telco. So yeah, I think the concept will change. People will realize that refurbished is actually, like I said, not new or as new, but at a lower cost.
Yeah, such a waste if, like you said, the lifespan is so much longer than they're actually using it for. And we know that's happening a lot as well. But I also think like making sustainable choices is also about like, educating your stakeholders, and it's always a key strategy that impacts up how operators are doing in their supply chain as well, for example. So I think it's important. So we have also heard before that there's often a perception that sustainability comes at the cost of profitability. How do you balance being sustainable while also staying competitive?
It's a good question. I think in many cases, it's true that actually becoming more sustainable comes with changes. Usually changes comes also with, of course, budget to be spent to realize those changes. But in our case, I think we hit the sweet spot of actually enabling a potential revenue. For example, if there is a company out there that they still have technology that can work in other operations, we could buy that. And we usually buy for a higher price than what they would get by scrapping or recycling those units. So that's a new revenue stream that they could open. On the other side, when we are selling technology, the procurement teams and usually CFOs, they are quite happy to see that actually they are buying the same quality of technology or better at a lower cost. So then that generates savings. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, like there is certainly a growing pool of environmentally conscious consumers as well. We did a survey actually on this, and a lot of responses, like I think it was 22 respondents based in Europe and US, cited green credentials as a critical factor when choosing your equipment or devices. So actually, I think even though it's that percentage doesn't seem huge, I do think it's, something to cite as well, because, a lot of people think, oh no, that's not going to be a consideration, but actually it is, and it's becoming more so, and especially in, younger generations as well, in terms of how they view the environment. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. So do you feel like profitability of this model can be adaptable to, evolving regulation and policy around e-waste? We might, see these getting stricter going forwards.
Yeah, you're right. I think the question has two sides of answers. The first one is the evolution of technology, and the answer is yes. I mean, that's a benefit for companies like Rethink because of the fastest cycle of technology being renewed or new technologies emerging. We can give more options to the buyers of our technology to opt for the technologies that others are leaving behind. So I think that will keep happening despite of the fact of evolving towards quantum computing or more AI computing power, etc. We'll access at certain point those technologies in terms of hardware, and will enable those assets to be sold to other players in different regions. The second point in terms of regulation, I think is actually a tailwind that we're experiencing. We're seeing that more countries and of course regulatory entities are taking decisions in and for the benefit of sustainable practices. So it's an inflection point indeed, but I think it will only benefit companies like we think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you're at a very, very pivotal time in terms of people's knowledge of e-waste as well. Like, they're more constantly making decisions about what to do with it, and in a sustainable manner as well, which is great. We've probably got time for just one more question. So to wrap things up, what would you say is the first step you'd recommend for businesses that want to embed circularity into their operations, while delivering some sort of financial return?
I love that question because it's actually the question we made ourselves when we created Withik. So how do we start? And I think you shouldn't start by going big. First, test it. What I would do is I would audit what I have in my warehouse or backyard, just accumulating dust, and see what I can sell. And of course, we can support companies if they have that question. Second, I would start with a pilot. Yeah, we don't need to go all the way. So perhaps if you are running a telco operation, you can start with cable modems, for example. That's small, you can test it, you can see if it works, you have labs, and that's something easy to implement. For companies also to check the price, of course, if it's convenient or not. The last suggestion or advice would be to check with your procurement teams to see if they are let's say, implementing practices around sustainability? Can they access refurbished products instead of new? By doing that, I think you would be making a change already. The change of mindset, the most difficult, even beyond actually changing the way of operating, is the fact that you want to do things differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're really great practical recommendations for our listeners, and ones actually that you could, easily lead to making a more circular choice just by looking at what you've got already. Exactly. So thank you, Manuel. I've really enjoyed discussing this with you today and learning a bit more about Rethink as well, and the opportunities there are for the telecoms industry with dealing with e-waste challenge, and very collectively as well. And to our listeners, if you want to learn more about circularity best practice in telecoms, we have a number of articles and reports on this topic as part of our Sustainable Networks program, which are available to download on the Knowledge Centre. And if you want to learn more about Rethink, then you can follow the link on our podcast page to find out more. And to automatically receive future episodes, please subscribe to the Analysys Mason podcast. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Manuel.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the session, so feel free to invite me if you want to once more to speak about this in the future. But
Absolutely.
yeah, it was really good to have this conversation, and thank you for the audience.
Thank you. Thanks, Manuel.